and welcome to Newsroom Series. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Today our focus is on the Southwest, but first, here's our top stories. The National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NESRIA, has visited a Chinese-led company, Daijinjia Investment Limited, located in Abuja, the nation's capital, specifically in the Akko Airport Road area. The company is allegedly involved in business activities that have drawn local scrutiny. Now, reports indicate that this entity is connected to Chinese-led operations, with residents demanding a halt to rock blasting activities. Upon arrival, the NESRIA officials had a heated confrontation as the army authority deployed to the company disallowed the closure of the facility. The agency has alleged that the company's blasting activities have threatened residents, buildings, and even killing a young child, putting the safety of their families in danger. NESRIA alleged that it has no permit and certification from the Chinese company on blasting plans. Members of the National Peace Committee have convened a stakeholders briefing to present annotations to the nation's Electoral Peace Accord, a move that is aimed at reinforcing commitments to peaceful conduct ahead of elections. The meeting brings together key actors in the democratic process to review concerns surrounding compliance with the agreement traditionally signed by political actors before polls. Among those in attendance are the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Kuka, the chairman of the nation's electoral umpire, INEC, Professor Josh Amotekun, and the chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, alongside leaders of political parties and members of civil society groups. The presentation of the annotations follows growing public concerns over the level of adherence to the provisions of the Peace Accord. The committee says the effort is designed to clarify expectations, strengthen accountability among political actors, and ensure that elections are conducted in an atmosphere of peace and respect for democratic rules. All hands must be on deck to achieve a remarkable improvement in power supply and distribution across the country. This is coming from the Minister of Power, Mr. Adebayo Adelabu. He made the comments during a working visit to the new board and management of the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company in the Oyo State capital. Mr. Adelabu called on state governments to take up their responsibility of providing electricity for residents following the decentralization of the power sector. Our correspondent, Bukola Orewo, reports.
The Power Ministry has been under constant scrutiny and mostly with displeasure from Nigerians for poor performance for years. This mistrust has constantly put the minister on his toes, prompting a series of interventions with all stakeholders, from power generation to distribution.
I therefore urge IGP to significantly accelerate its meter installation efforts, deploy the available meters without further delay, and treat this as a priority intervention necessary for improving customer confidence, reducing losses, and strengthening the sustainability of the power sector. Going forward, I would like to encourage IBDC to leverage every regulatory and operational opportunity available to it. One such opportunity is embedded generation. The concession of the Keregot Dam to Quite Energy presents a viable pathway to integrate up to 10 megawatts of additional capacity into your network. Strategic engagement on this opportunity could help boost supply reliability within your franchise area.
The federal government has more than 30 ongoing projects to support the supply and distribution chain. Nevertheless, Mr. Adelabu reminds state governments that they now share constitutional responsibility for electricity provision.
By signing into law the Electricity Act of 2023 by Mr. President, the process and the function of providing electricity to Nigerians no longer remains an exclusive responsibility of the federal government. All levels of government are now allowed to play their role from federal to state to local government to make sure they extend electricity access to their people as part of their electoral promise. And about 17 state autonomy markets have been released, which includes Oyo State.
Earlier, the new board visited the Olubado of Ibadan land of Rashidi Ladoja in his palace to pledge their commitment to a new era of effectiveness.
We are not just waiting to get power from the government. We are going to be producing our own power. So hopefully, with enough power, we can even bring down the price. All right, because competition is there all over the place. It's because there's not enough of it that the price is high. When there is plenty, then you can bring the price down. So we hope that the people of Ibadan, the people of Oyo State, the people of all the areas that we are covering will see a relief with this new board that is coming in now.
Among all the discourse, this one will be the one that will perform most, because the resources are there to make it work. The zeal is there, the expertise is there. So what else do you want? So I'm sure that IBDC will work better.
The minister reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to strengthening the collaboration with power distribution companies and state governments to improve electricity supply nationwide. Bukola Uriowo, Channels Television News.
Traditional rulers, leaders of thought and residents of Ogun Waterside local government area of Ogun State have appealed to the federal government and relevant security agencies to prevail over alleged threats by ex-militants in Ondo to resume hostilities over the disputed oil-rich Eba Island between Ondo and Ogun States. At a press conference held in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, the leaders, through their spokesperson, Professor Segun Awunusi, maintained that before the presidential directive for oil prospecting in the disputed area, due diligence had been carried out by the NNPCL and other agencies, which confirmed that the island, that Eba Island, indeed belongs to Ogun State.
These are traditional rulers and leaders of thought from different communities representing the disputed oil-rich Eba Island in Ogun Waterside local government area of Ogun State.
So get out and start rolling it. We don't want that. Are we agreed?
The leaders say they are here to stand their ground, that the disputed island belongs to Ogun Waterside local government area, citing historical, empirical and established cognates by relevant government agencies as facts of the matter.
So going straight to the point, the following points establishing the undisputed fact that the part of Eba Island where the oil well is located is in Ogun Waterside local government area of Ogun State, not Ondo State. 1. There are lease agreements, historical community records and survey documents, including the Olokola Free Trade Zone survey plan that establish and or confirmed that Eba Island is a part of Ogun State. 2. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has registered the polling unit at the local government primary school Eba under Makun Irokun ward in Ogun Waterside local government area of Ogun State.
They describe as spurious claims by the Elaje community that the disputed oil-rich island belongs to Ondo State, calling on the federal government and security agencies to intervene following threats by ex-militants to resume hostilities if the oil-rich island is not ceded to Ondo State.
Our Elaje neighbors have embarked on a campaign of calumny and dished out outright falsehoods to the public. The latest being the threat by the so-called ex-militants generals in Elaje local government area to attack the major sources of the economy of the country if the oil well is not given to Ondo State within 14 days. What an affront to our collective sensibilities. we call our security agencies to take appropriate actions to check the shenanigans by Ilaja people and their threat to the nation's economic has the records as constitutionally empowered.
The disputed oil-rich island has been an issue of dispute between Ogun and Ondo states since the approval for commercial oil exploration by President Bola Tinubu, as announced by the Ogun State Governor Dr. Abiodun last January. They ask authorities concerned to do the needful to avert needless communal clashes between the sister state and communities around the disputed island.
Fish farmers in the Ijebu area of Ogun State have raised concerns over growing insecurity marked by abductions of their members by armed hoodlums. The members under the aegis of Ijebuland fish farmers at a press conference said 6 persons, which include customers and a member, were recently kidnapped, even as a ransom of about 70 million naira was paid to secure their release by the hoodlums. While demanding increased security and intelligence gathering in those areas affected, they want the state government as well as the acting Inspector General of Police, Disu, to ensure adequate security of lives and property.
This seeming failure, helplessness, and ineptitude of the security agencies and the government at all levels now endanger our lives, as kidnapping, robbery, and other forms of criminality now reign supreme and unchallenged in various communities across the state. Citizens, including fish farmers, now live in palpable fears, as those entrusted with guaranteeing security seems to have turned blind eye to the plight of poor farmer, workers, and poor mass majority. We condemn the alarming rate of insecurity and the apparent lackluster performances of the Nigerian police.
When we come back after the break, key stakeholders converge to end the Ondo farmers and herders crisis. Do join us again for details. Welcome back to Newsroom Series. Efforts to end the recurring clashes between farmers and herders in Ondo State have received fresh momentum as key stakeholders converge to chart a lasting solution. At a validation workshop facilitated by the Ondo State Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support Project, participants reviewed resolutions reached after months of dialogue with hopes of restoring peace, protecting livelihoods, and even strengthening agricultural productivity in Ondo State.
This is a strategic workshop facilitated by the Ondo State Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support Project, LPRES, to find a permanent solution to the crisis between farmers and herders.
Agriculture, right? As is case here, what should we do at what point?
The engagement is designed to validate resolutions reached after a year-long series of deliberations among key actors. Major triggers of the conflict identified at the workshop include destruction of crops by grazing cattle, cattle rustling, increasing competition for land and water resources, as well as the impact of climate change. A peace and security expert gives assurances that the issues raised, the causes, as well as a permanent solution to the crisis will be documented after validation.
The validation for workshop is yet to validate the roundtable discussion held on February 4 here in Akure, Ondo State, because we plan to develop a stakeholder engagement plan for the Livestock Production Resilience Support Project, LPRES. Climate change is critical, but we need to begin to find a way. A major part of climate change are water. Government can do what they call water containment from the upper to the lower shed and contain the water. And the water again for climate smart initiatives that is mutually benefiting for holders and farmers, where they both plant, use their pastures to support each other in terms of their engagement as farmers and as the pastoralists as well.
State government officials and representatives of the farming community are optimistic about the initiative.
It is a welcome development in the ministry because it focuses on the peaceful coexistence between farmers and herders in the state. And I think every state will always look after the peace and the safety of its people. And aside that, we believe that both the farmers and the herders, they are working towards the same goal to ensure that there is a massive production of food for the people. They both have their own roles they play, and we appreciate the effort of the two groups because it is very glaring that they work towards the same goal. So the ministry is very much disposed to what the Empress is doing in the state, and we appreciate their efforts so far.
Farmers, herders, conflict resolution it attains how to handle conflict, how to prevent it and the resolution between the farmers and the herders, and how to formulate the policy that can guide the stakeholders, those that involve, the farmers and the herders.
Parties concerned are hopeful that the outcome of the engagement will chart a sustainable path to peaceful coexistence and agricultural stability in Ondo State.
The Lagos State government has intensified enforcement of its executive order on mandatory social health insurance, charging local government and local council development area chairmen to lead grassroots implementation in a decisive push toward universal health coverage. The charge was given to the LGA and LCDA chairmen at a one-day retreat under the aegis of Conference 57 on the implementation of the executive order, where top government officials rallied the third tier of government to deepen enrollment into the Lagos State Social Health Insurance Scheme, popularly known as Ilera Eko. Now, the State Commissioner for Health, Professor Aki Abayomi, and the Chairman House Committee on Health, Mr. Lawal Musbao, said laws without enforcement mechanisms often remain ineffective, and the Lagos State House of Assembly had long laid the legal foundation for sustainable healthcare financing through the Lagos State Health Scheme Law of 2015, and the executive order now strengthens the legal mandate and signals government's resolve to ensure that every resident carries a health insurance plan, either self-funded or subsidized for the vulnerable.
Please. As you well know, we are three tiers of government: federal, state, and local government. Local government is becoming more prominent on the scene of execution of projects, and therefore I think this retreat is very apt and important for you to express your opinions around the concept of universal healthcare coverage.
Stakeholders in education have urged students in Nigeria to position themselves as builders of the nation by having a greater vision that will further strengthen the growth and development of the country. This was disclosed at the maiden matriculation ceremony of the Federal University of Technology and Environmental Studies in Inyekiti. Now, speaking at the event, the Senate leader, Okpeyemi Bamidele, said there is need for a public-private partnership for the development of education in Nigeria. He also commended President Bola Tinubu for all the necessary support rendered to the institution.
What we have witnessed today is historic for us, and is the beginning of a new lease of life for this community, for this state, and also for our country. I believe that the Federal University of Technology and Environmental Sciences will be a strong addition to the list of our citadels of learning in this country. It's meant to be a center for innovation and sustainability. And for us, we believe there's a need for a very strong foundation. The little that I did was just my own way of trying to encourage these students. As far as I'm concerned, by God's grace, we will do more. We return all the glory to God Almighty for making it possible. And I'm not alone in this. I'm working side by side with a lot of eminent Nigerian citizens who believe so much in education and in the future of our children.
As part of its commitment to ensuring adequate security in the state, now the Ondo State government has recruited 500 new operatives into the state security formation. That's the Ondo State Security Network Agency, codenamed the Amotekun Corps. Delivering his address at the passing out parade of the operatives in Akure, Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa reiterates the commitment of his administration to the provision of logistics, equipment, intelligence coordination, and continuous training for the Amotekun Corps.
New recruits of the Ondo State Command of the Amotekun Corps are passing out of the 2026 Basic Regular Course. Shortly after the initial proceedings comes the parade by the new officers and the salutation of the Guard of Honor by Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa. Governor Aiyedatiwa commends the courage of his predecessor, Olarotimi Akeredolu, for establishing the state security network, as he appeals to the new officers to be diligent, honest, and lawful in the discharge of their duties.
The strength of Amotekun does not lie in brute force, but in professional restraint, intelligence-led operations, community trust, and the sanctity of the Omoluabi ethos. You have been entrusted with the authority of the state to act in its name and interest. It is a solemn calling and a sacred responsibility. You must, therefore, discharge your duties with integrity, respect for the Constitution, and strict adherence to the rule of law.
Commander of the State Command of Amotekun, Adetunji Adeleye, assures that the newly recruited officers have been fully trained and equipped for the tasks ahead of them.
You are stepping into service at a time when security challenges are increasingly complex, asymmetrical, and socially sensitive, ranging from banditry to kidnapping to communal tension, farmers-others clashes, criminal infiltration of rural spaces, and sundry criminal activities. Your duty therefore goes beyond physical presence. It demands alertness, restraint, integrity, confidentiality, and loyalty to the state and its people.
We were able to cope very well because the instructors were actually very nice to us, and some of the training, most of us came there with determined mind. We were very determined to do it. So making us to be able to listen to all instruction, takes all instruction, and do all the training diligently.
By the grace of God, we will try all our best to make sure they are safe. And the fact is, we all have the discipline to make sure there is no any form of casualty, any form of terrorism. We will make sure we eradicate any form of terrorism, kidnapping in the name of Jesus.
The newly recruited officers, both the regular ones as well as the rangers that man the forest areas, engage in a show of strength to display their capacity in fighting crime and providing security in Ondo State.
And the National Police Council has confirmed Mr. Olatunji Disu as the substantive Inspector General of Police. His name is now to be sent to the Senate for screening. Mr. Disu took over the reins of power last week as the acting IGP following the resignation of Mr. Kayode Egbetokun. Now, President Bola Tinubu approved his appointment on February the 24th this year following the resignation of the former IGP, Mr. Egbetokun. He was then decorated with his new rank at the ceremony in Abuja by President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa. Well, his name definitely will be transmitted to the Senate for the final confirmation as the substantive IGP. And with that, we draw the curtain on today's edition of a Newsroom series with our focus on the Southwest. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun.